Hello and welcome to another episode of Maths with Mrs. Banks, where we make maths fun and easy to learn. And in this video, we're going to learn how to solve linear equations for mathematics grade 10. By this point, you should be able to solve your basic simple equations. But if you still struggle with that, I've made a video specially for you, and that is called Basics on How to Solve Equations. Please go watch it and come back to this video. On that note, please don't forget to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos we upload in the future. Now let's start. By now, like I've said, you should be able to solve simple linear equations like this. For example, you've got one variable and it is to the power of 1. That is how we know it is a linear equation. Sometimes it's messed up, and you will see in the examples as we do in this video, more examples. You will see sometimes you need to add first or subtract before you can see that it is a linear equation with one variable, and that is to the power of 1. How do we solve questions like this? We go therefore 3f on the left hand side. Therefore 3f is equal to, take the negative 10 to the right hand side and it changes the sign. So that becomes plus 10 equals to 10 plus 10. Therefore 3f on the left hand side is equals to 10 plus 10 is equals to 20. Now you divide both sides by 3. So the left hand side is divided by 3, and the aim is to get rid of the 3 on the left hand side. The 3's cancel out on the left hand side and you're left with, therefore f equals to 20 over 3. If you would like, you can leave your answer as a mixed number. And you go 3 goes into 20 how many times? That is 6 times, and leaves a remainder of 2 over 3. Each answer is correct. It just depends on how you want to leave it. Like it's exactly the same thing. Now in the next question, notice that you've got two p's added together, not multiplied together, added together. And that means at the end of the day, the answer, the sum, is going to be still a p with to the power of 1. So it's still a linear equation. It still qualifies. Now what you do to add this is what you would do to add any two old fractions together. And how you do that is you first find out what the lowest common denominator is. The lowest common denominator in this case is found between 3 numbers, and those are 3, 2, and 1. The lowest common denominator of 3, 2, and 1 is 6. So what you do is you multiply each of the fractions by your lowest common denominator. In this case, 3 goes into 3 once and into 6 twice. So therefore, that 1 over 3p becomes 2p. Plus 1 over 2 also multiplied by 6. 2 goes into 2 once and into 6 3 times. And that 1/2 p becomes 3p. Minus negative 10 multiplied by 6. Everything on the equation should be multiplied by the lowest common denominator. And that's exactly what we do. Negative 10 by 6, that is negative 60, is equal to 0. And now you add like terms. 2p plus 3p. If you're not sure which are like terms or which are not like terms, just term whatever variable you have as a goat first, and then the next one is a cow, next one is a chicken, and so on and so forth. So you'll be able to know which ones are like terms and which ones are not like terms. For example, let's add 2 goats plus 3 goats. That gives you 5 goats. That is 5p in this case. Minus 60. That is not a goat, it's just a chicken if you would like. Therefore, take everything that is not p to the right hand side. The negative 60 becomes positive 60 on the right hand side. Now you divide both sides by 5 to get rid of the 5 on the left hand side, so you can have p on its own. So you go 5 divided by 5, and then 60 divided by 5. The 5 cancel out on the left hand side, and you're left with P. P equals to, now you take a calculator and you go 60 divided by 5, and that will give you an answer of 12, and that is your answer. Next example, you have a case where I showed you that sometimes you need to multiply things out, or you need to add things out, and you need to subtract, whatever the case may be. So when you find a situation like this, you multiply everything out first, all of it out. You multiply it all out. Therefore, okay, 4 times 2x, that is 8x, minus 4 times 9 is 36, so that is negative 36, minus 4x equals to 4 minus 6x on the left hand side. Therefore, take everything that is x to the left hand side, so we're left with 8x minus 4x on the left hand side, and then you bring the minus 6x on the right hand side to the left hand side, and it becomes plus 6x. Plus 6x equals to, when you take all the numbers to the right hand side, you are left with 4 on the right hand side, and the negative 36 becomes positive 36. So that's what you have there. Therefore, add all your x's together. 8, take out a calculator, minus 4 plus 6. If you're not sure with your integers, don't attempt to add them in your head. Take a calculator. That is 10x on the left hand side equals to 4 plus 36, that is 40 on the right hand side. And as usual, you divide both sides by 10 to get rid of the 10, so you have x on its own on the left hand side. The 10s cancel out. 10 goes into 10 once and into 44 times. And therefore, you're left with x equals to 4. And that is your answer there. Next example. When you have a situation like this, it's very similar to the one that we had with fractions. This one is just expressed a little differently. So similar case, you've got fractions. Whenever you've got fractions, remember your lowest common denominator, find your LCD. What do we find our LCD between in this case? Notice that your 3a can be also written as 3a over 1. So that means we're finding the LCD between 3 and 1, and that is equals to 3. Therefore, what we do is what we did in the previous example, is we multiply each of the fractions we have by the lowest common denominator. 2a minus 3 over 3, that is the first fraction you have. Multiply that by LCD 3. The 3's cancel out and you're left with 2a minus 3 on the left hand side. Same thing with 3a over 1. Multiply that by 3. The 3 multiplied by 3 gives you 9, so you're left with minus 9. Notice that this is one thing, minus 9a, which is equals to, same thing with a over 3, multiply that by the lowest common denominator. The 3's cancel out and you're left with a on the right hand side. Now expand, multiply out everything. Let's multiply out everything on the left hand side. So we take out the bracket, in other words. So that is 2a minus 3 minus 9 equals to a. Take everything that is an a to the left hand side, to a The a on the right hand side becomes minus a. So we've got 2a minus 9a minus a equals 2. The 3 we take, negative 3 we take to the right hand side, it becomes positive 3. That becomes positive 3. Therefore, add like times 2 minus 9 minus 1, 1a minus 1a. So that's 2 minus 9, take out a calculator, minus 1. And that gives you negative 8 on the left hand side. Negative 8a equals to positive 3. And now what you do is you divide both sides by negative a to get rid of the negative 8. And you are left with a on the left hand side. So the 8 cancel out and the signs also become positive. Negative divided by negative is positive. Therefore, on the left hand side we've got a, and then on the right hand side we've got negative 3 over 8. And that is your answer there. Next example, we have a scenario where instead of just your normal whole numbers multiplied by binomials, you've got a common fraction. So first step is you change that or turn that common fraction, mixed number into an improper fraction. 1 over 4 becomes 1 times 4 plus 1, that is 5 over 4. So that becomes 5 over 4. And the 1 and 1 over 2 becomes 1 times 2, that is 2 plus 1, 3. So that is 3 over 2. And therefore that becomes 3 over 2 multiplied by x minus 1 minus, so that is 5 over 4, 5 over 4, 5 over 4 minus 3 over 2 multiplied by 3x plus 2 equals to 0. Right, now you find your lowest common denominator between the denominators. You've got 4 and 2. The lowest common denominator between 4 and 2 is equals to 4. Now you multiply your fractions by the lowest common denominator. So that becomes 5. Therefore, you're left with, 5 on the left hand side in bracket x minus 1 minus 3 over 2 multiplied by the lowest common denominator. 2 goes into 2 once and into 4 twice. 3 times 2, that is equals to 6. So that is negative 6 in bracket 3x plus 2. Sorry, that is 3x plus 2. And that is equals to 0. Therefore, you expand, you multiply everything out. Let's get rid of this first. You multiply everything out. So that becomes therefore 5x minus 5 minus 18x minus 12 equals to 0. All right. Now you make sure everything that is x is on the left hand side. 5x minus 18x, and you take everything else that is not x to the right hand side. That becomes 12 plus 5 because they were both negative on the left hand side. Therefore, 5 minus 18, 5x minus 18x, 5 minus 18 is equals to negative 13. Therefore, you have negative 13x on the left hand side. 12 plus 5 is equals to 17. On the right hand side, you divide both sides by negative 13. Yes, you guessed right. To get rid of the coefficient of x and leave x on its own. The 13 over 13 cancel out, and the negative and negative leave you as a positive. Therefore, that becomes positive x on the left hand side equals to negative 17 over 13. If you want to leave this as a mixed number, you can do so. You go negative, important, the sign first, and you go, how many times does 13 go into 17? It goes once and leaves a remainder of 17 minus 13, that is 4 over 13. And that is your answer here. The last example we have is where we have a situation where your denominator or your linear expression is divided by another linear expression. Remember, when you have a denominator or a fraction of some sort, find the lowest common denominator. In this case, this is between 3x plus 1 and 1. So that lowest common denominator will be equals to 3x plus 1. So we're done with the lowest common denominator part. But here's another bit. Notice that if 3x plus 1 is 0, it will make the whole expression undefined. So we have that as a restriction. So that means as a restriction, step number 1, we look at restrictions whenever your expression or your equation is divided by an x or a variable. What is the restriction? How do we find the restriction? We take the denominator and say it must not be equal to 0 and solve, sort of like solve 3x equals to, is not equal to negative 1. Therefore, 3x is not equal to negative 1 divided by 3 divided by 3. The 3's cancel out and you're left with, therefore, x can never be equal to negative 1 over 3. That means whatever answer we have will be valid except for when that answer is equal to negative 1 over 3, because that's when it makes the whole thing undefined. And now we do what we do with other fractions. Whenever we deal with fractions, we multiply out the whole equation by the lowest common denominator. So we've got 2 minus x over 3x plus 1, and we'll multiply that by the LCD, which is x plus 3x plus 1. They cancel out and you're left with 2x, 2 minus x. Therefore, that becomes 2 minus x on the left hand side equals to, on the right hand side we'll multiply 2 by 3x plus 1, and it becomes 2 in brackets 3x plus 1. Now we expand, therefore, sorry, the left hand side is 2 minus x, not 2x. 2 minus x, 2 minus x. Therefore, 2 minus x equals to, let's expand the right hand side, becomes 6x plus 2. Let's get rid of this. 2x plus 2, therefore, take everything that is with x to the left hand side and everything that is not x to the left hand side. The 6x on the right hand side becomes minus 6x. Equals to 2, and the 2 on the left hand side becomes minus 2. Minus 2. Therefore, minus x minus 6x, that's minus 7x, equals to 2 minus 2 is 0. Therefore, divide both sides by negative 7 to get rid of the coefficient of x, and then on the left hand side, the 7's cancel and the negatives give you a positive. Therefore, positive x equals to 0 divided by negative 7 is 0. Anything divided by 0 divided by anything, in other words, is 0. And that is your answer there. We've come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and bye.